We will call the meeting to order. The Skokie Public Library Board meeting Wednesday, October 11th. Our initial agenda item, can I have a motion to approve the appointment of Amanda Lichtenstein to fill Noreen Winningham's term through April 2025?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes
Thank you.
4-0. Welcome, and now
Thank you.
promote, swear you in if you want.
Okay. Oh, thank you. I'm very honored.
So raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Okay.
I state your name,
Amanda Lichtenstein,
having been appointed to the office of
having been appointed to the office of
Skokie Library Trustee
Skokie Library Trustee
in the village of Skokie,
in the village of Skokie,
county of Cook,
in the county of Cook,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Skokie Library Trustee.
and I will faithfully discharge the duty of the office of
Skokie
the Skokie Library Trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now we can sign this.
Okay, thank you.
Now you can go back.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Oh.
You want to say that?
Yes. Susie, will you?
Yeah, keep it on file.
Thank you for all.
Bye.
Thank you.
You did this?
Yes.
Susie, do we have any comments from observers?
We do not.
We do, very good. Then, Amy, let me invite you to the criminal table. Why don't we all go around and do intros for Amanda?
And also Allison, you find this.
Oh, yes, and I'm sorry, we want to introduce Allison.
Yeah, this is Allison Dubeck, our new finance manager. She started a couple of weeks ago and she's doing great. So welcome, Allison. You can introduce yourself.
I'm Allison. It's a pleasure working there and, thanks for that.
Ellen, you just want to go.
Okay, I'm Ella Whitehead, trustee, no longer the newest trustee. Very excited.
Quick Ellen to
Yeah.
And I'm Mira Barber, trustee. Welcome and welcome.
I'm Shabna Mahmood. Welcome aboard.
I'm Richard Conley.
Yes, Jane Griffin. Chair.
I'm Amy Kuster. I'm the Learning Experiences Manager here at the library.
Cool.
And I'm Mary Petruha. I'm a trustee on the library board.
And Laura McGrath,
I'm the Deputy Director.
I'm Leah White, the associate director of organizational development.
Cool.
I'm Colleen McGann. I work in the first provider at the library.
And I'm Susie Republic, administrative.
And Mary and Shabnam, you didn't mention your officer titles.
Oh, I'm not used to it yet.
Yeah.
Vice principal, I'm that.
Thank you. And I'm secretary as of the last meeting.
And we have one trustee who's not able to make it tonight.
Okay. And I should correct, I said, yes, 4-0. Yes. And, Mary, in absentia, you were nominated last week, also, but people didn't know if you wanted to accept it, so we didn't. Rush to the time with your absence. So, but we talked. All right, moving on. With no comments from observers, we need to approve the minutes from the regular and closed meetings of September 13th, which were in your Dropbox. So let's start with the closed meeting. Any comment or corrections to the minutes from the closed meeting? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the closed meeting of September 13th? Second. It have to be Mary or Shabnam.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstaining? You probably abstained. All right, so that passes, say, did you abstain or did you vote, did you approve?
I approve.
You approved, then it passes 5-0 with one abstention. So now to the regular meeting of September 13th, any comments, corrections? Matt, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 13th?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstaining? That passes 5-0 with one abstention. Now move on to the director's report with even a new breaking news update.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Nice to see everyone. Blue Jeans referring to news that this morning, the Skokie Police Department issued a press release saying that they're charging an individual for making various threats against the community, including the library. I believe schools were involved. So the press release I shared with the board, you can also find it on social media pages of the Skokie Police Department. So it's good news for us. Unfortunate that this is even something that happens in the world, of course, but it's somewhat of a relief for us here at the library, because as you know, we've been dealing with just the unsettling consequences of something like that happening to us. So I welcome that news this morning. So just wanted to update the board about that. The third floor renovation is underway. It's a demolition zone up there, so it's not really safe for us to take a visit right tonight, but hopefully in the near future, maybe after the next board meeting, we can maybe take a little stroll through cleaner spaces at that point, you know. So, but that all things are going smoothly. SMC has taken over the area. We have a lot of contractors in and out of the building, but I haven't heard any concerns about major disruptions to the public use of the library or the staff's working the library. So
How's all the new rental space?
the annex, the rental temporary offices are good. We're working through some little modifications with heating and figuring out the thermostat. I guess today was not, but it's working out for us over there. But a lot of us actually are working in the library as well. Like today, all three of us, Laura Lee and I, were in the building most of the day, just finding spots where we could just sit down with a laptop and we had meetings and that kind of thing. So we're definitely splitting time between the two locations. But those are running smoothly. Blue Point installation, we're still working on that. So just wanted a short update about that in my report. They mentioned Allison, our new finance manager, having a strong start to her work here. So you'll see this month's financial documents were prepared by Allison. I'm just going to thank her for that. And she'll also attend these board meetings regularly. And she'll also be working with me and primarily the auditors to wrap up our fiscal year audit that will be presented to the board in November. Yeah, I think the last thing I want to mention here is the last item here, the dedication event for the renaming of this room in Carolyn Anthony's honor. As you all know, is our former library director for 31 years. So she's excited. She knows the date. We're working on the guest list and all the arrangements. So we're excited to have that event. So I hope that all the board members can be present to celebrate. So if there are any questions about anything in the director's report, please let me know.
Anything from the board, questions, comments? Good, thank you. All right, let's move on to the approval of the disbursement report. Allison, anything you want to highlight as we're looking at it?
Nothing really stood out. Most of these were pretty routine expenditures. As far as I can tell from my fresh thing.
I have a
Yes,
question,
please.
on the bill part, so under 7,000 capital,
Yes.
40490 Oak Brook Mechanical Services, what is that pertaining to, $249,000?
If you recall, the board approved a chiller replacement pay app,
Yes.
I believe last month or 2 months ago, and that's the payment, the check that was made out of that. So that it's a portion of our overall expenses for replacing the chiller.
What's the total expenditure
The total expense, there's about close to 600,000 left to pay on that.
on the chiller?
Yeah.
Okay.
It hasn't been installed yet, so we're expecting that in shortly. So
Okay. And then just curious, under that as well, 1326 Skokie Public Library, about 6,000. What is that pertaining to?
I believe this is paying ourselves back for various expenses that were made out of a different account, and we were just kind of
Just the account?
yeah, it's an accounting thing, yeah, but I believe that that's what that was for. There are a number of items that have been attached to that, so I can check. During the breakdown.
Thank you.
I had a follow-up question from something I emailed you about, Richard, about the plumbing expense, how it was a delayed
Yes,
thing.
yes.
But then I like the sentence that you told me. You said, we believe the first floor toilet issues are resolved now. So how did we ultimately end up getting like air dryer, or what was done to finally
We
kind of
changed
resolve
the
this?
flushing mechanism.
So you changed the flushing
Yeah.
mechanism.
So they're-
Okay.
Yeah, they're a little bit more powerful and we haven't. I hesitate to even speak it out.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
We hope that we haven't had any issues since.
Since you installed those new flushes. Okay, cool.
Mary's talking about an expense under maintenance and buildings and grounds that was for work that was done, I believe, in June, and it was just very delayed invoice sent to us.
Yeah, it was 5,200. That's where my ears perked. I was like, oh my God, did we have another
No.
toilet problem
I was
again?
thinking the same.
So I was like, oh.
I mean,
I was
we
happy
have
with that
had,
one.
we have had some plumbing issues, but not those plumbing issues, so. we
Okay.
had a sign that maybe there's a similar type of issue happening on the second floor, but we're keeping our eyes on it and we may just implement the same solution, so
Okay.
we'll see. We want to keep an eye on it.
And Richard, I'm curious about just one more
Sure.
item, 6,100 utilities.
Yep.
There's a bill to the Village of Skokie about $4,200. Just curious, what do we pay the village for?
That.
It's
Hold on,
4396.
Yeah. I had this, looked at this earlier. That is, water bills that were split up over two, bills. So those are like covering basically, April through July. So
Thank
it's
you.
just kind of a larger amount of initial.
It's any other questions or comments, pages 5 through 12?
Sorry, Richard, one real
Yes,
quick
sure.
one. Rails, we paid 8,000, right? Is that,
Where was that?
40433 under 6250 technology and network?
62.
50?
Let me just check on that. Just want to make sure. Usually if it's a rails charge, it's because of a discounted group purchase rate on something. That, I believe. Oh, that's a fee for, it's called Find More Illinois. It's a catalog basically that allows us to share and receive requests and books and materials from other libraries that belong to that same pool of libraries. So
So that's like an annual?
it's, yeah, right. It's like a membership fee basically for them.
Are they typical annual?
Hmm?
Are these typical annual?
Yes, yes. You I believe, I would have to look back in there, but initially when we joined a couple of years ago, they had waived the initial year's fees because we were as incentive almost for us to join and be part of the whole system and.
Right.
And now I think we're starting to rebuild the typical annual fees. Mhm. It helps with interlibrary loaning, getting interlibrary loan requests, that type of things.
The questions, if not, can I get a motion to approve the September 2023 disbursement report?
So moved.
Second, some,
Second.
all right, then, when it's a vote on spending money, we have to vote individually. So, Ella,
Yes.
Mira,
Yes.
Shabana.
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
I'm yes, so that passes 6-0. Thank you. Right now on to the specific approval of construction pay application along pages 13 through 19.
This is, if you were, for those of you who are here for the renovation project between 2020 and 2021, you remember that we had a monthly pay application basically from the construction manager listing all of the different subcontractors who are working on the project and the amounts that we're paying them. There's always a small percentage retained for retainage that is only paid out at the completion of the entire project. So this is the first of many pay apps that we'll be looking at over the course of the next 8 months.
Are we looking at the same amount each time?
No, it'll be different based on what the work was that was completed in the prior month. So SMC, our construction manager, prepares this pay app. They review everything, make sure, verify that the work is that the invoices that they're receiving from the contractors was actually completed. They calculate the retainage out of it, and then they provide a summary sheet and the detail sheets. And then the board is asked to approve the pay app, and then once the board actually approves the pay app, then we cut the checks. Our finance department, our manager will cut the checks with the other person in our business office, and then we'll distribute them through SMC to the contractors.
Right, so clarify, the last vote, we approved money that's already been dispersed. In this case, we're approving payment that hasn't been paid out.
Right. This is not a disbursement, right? This is to approve the disbursement, right? The paying, cutting of the checks and paying them out.
Any questions about that? It's for $14,405, which includes the small retainage. 10% of work actually. If not, can I have a motion to approve construction pay application number 1 for $14,405? Second,
Second.
anybody second? Second. All in favor? We have to do it individually again because it's ours. Ella?
Yes.
Mira?
Yes.
Shabana?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda, pages 20 through 33. Richard, anything you want to highlight here?
I don't think so. Like I said, I just want to acknowledge Allison's hard work on financial statements. They should look very familiar to you. There may be changes in the future based on Allison's analysis and recommendation in terms of formatting and the type of information that we might provide over a month or a quarter or a year, but for now, we're kind of sticking with the status quo for the time being.
Questions or comments about?
I have just a general inquiry on page 27. We talk about the patron engagement and circulation stats report.
Mhm.
And there's a line here for fines and fees. Shows year to date fiscal year 2020 and then all the way through the current fiscal year. And fiscal year 2024, so far it's about 10,585. I was just curious in general, how do we feel that our no fines policy, how do we feel that that's going?
You want me to?
Yeah.
Yes. I would say quite well. So the fines and fees that you're seeing there are for lost materials. So, as approved in borrowing policy, patrons are billed for an item if they don't return it after a specified time, after it became overdue. But in terms of getting materials back and circulating, I think those stats are farther down the page, but it's very consistent and we're not seeing that also experiencing a lot less friction at our service points than we did when we were arguing over dimes and quarters and things. So, yeah.
Good.
Thanks for asking. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to have a call out on the online engagement, on page 33. I was blown away by how much the YouTube views jumped. It averages around 10,000 views a month, and this past month it was 42,000 views. So that's pretty big. So Richard, I think you said it was an older video that some YouTuber is blasting. Like, what is the content that they're? I'm curious. Yeah.
We can watch it together after the meeting. Basically, I think it's from 2010, I want to say.
Some older content.
Mhm.
Okay.
It has quite a number of views. It's one of our, actually, Holly Jin, she still works here as our community engagement supervisor at the time. She created some videos for, I'm not gonna try to recreate it right here, but she created some videos for early literacy and like a sing-along type videos.
Okay.
And so I think that people pick up on that. I mean, it's always actually had strong reviews.
I mean,
And
that's a
recently,
big jump. I mean.
recently got picked up and mentioned by some very popular YouTuber or maybe YouTubers, and kind of like, mentioned, it just kind of went viral a little bit, so. But it was actually in our terms viral all along, because it's our biggest YouTube video of all time.
Wow.
I thought that was really cool. That number just jumped to me off the page. I was like, holy cow. What is
We were
going on
all
here?
quite surprised by what's happening here, so. But I think it might just be a short.
Who knows though? I mean, you get that on TikTok, you move it here, it's like, you can be a star.
There are a lot of views, and I don't know the exact number. I think
I love
it might
it.
be 200 some thousand or something, I want to say, or maybe I'm adding a big one number, a digit, but there's a lot.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I also was so happy to see this Google review from a patron. Page 32, the patron says, I don't usually write reviews, but in capital letters, I had to for this library, 2 exclamation points. This is the best place, even if we don't want to read books, we can do a lot more stuff. I come here to study, and the best thing is that it is so inclusive and welcoming to all kinds of people. I feel really comfortable and a second home here.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want, for the people, so,
Yeah, so happy to see that.
yeah, thanks for calling that out. It's actually, if you haven't done it, it's a kind of an uplifting thing to just check out our Google reviews or our Yelp reviews. It's just by and large very positive, obviously, and some really nice comments about how, and it's actually an insight into how people use the library and experience the library, so you actually, it's a good thing to pay attention to. Thank you.
Any other comments? Eileen? If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. All right, now to our guest star. The 2024 calendar of community priorities, pages 34 to 37. Amy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me again. So, I was here in May, talking about a precursor to this, so if you're like, what is this referring to? That's what.
Okay,
Lovely to see everyone else again. Good to meet you.
thank you.
Yes, so what you have in the memo and as an attachment is the 2024 calendar of community priorities for public services, which since I came and chatted with all of you in May, given the nature of our conversation, the feedback from all of you and what you've shared from your own perspectives and also from community members you've connected with, as well as conversations with others in the library. We evolved what previously looked like just a regular calendar style document into something that gives a bit more nuance and talks about some of the different ways we're prioritizing responding to community interests based around particular identity groups in Skokie throughout the year 2024. So there is, that's a program assistant call. There's another LIC logged in, don't worry. So the what you're seeing here is reflecting the evolution of that document and effectively saying, you know, people, when I was talking, especially with folks who work in the library, they were saying it's not that we need more specific dates, like it just reflects what we know right now. What would be really helpful is to have a sense of like different ways we think about different moments in the calendar. So that's what you're seeing, broken into 5 categories. I'll highlight just a little bit about that, but I really want to emphasize this is intended to be a document always in progress. And so that's why there is a updated date on the bottom, because as we learn more from community members, that absolutely involves or includes all of you, because you're community members and you have connections with community members who we might not. As we learn more, this is going to be updated and changing. So as you hear things, please share. It helps us. And I think the other big piece, when I was here in May, I was talking specifically in the realm of events and programs. And very intentionally through those conversations, we've expanded this to think about public services more generally, because sometimes an event is going to be the best way to accomplish something that we're hearing in the community, but sometimes it's not. And we don't want to think that an event is going to solve everything. But we also don't want to leave events off as a potential way to deliver on a service. So that's something we're trying to reflect in this document too. So there are 5 main areas of how we're thinking right now about these community priorities. And again, these are based on like identity groups in Skokie. So this is not meant to reflect, these are all of the things we think about when we're thinking about programs, displays, social media content, YouTube videos. But these are the ones that we have both specifically heard from community members they're looking for, and that have a date on the calendar. So they have some time bound elements. So the first is Heritage and History Months, which is one of the things that probably looks most familiar to what I discussed in May and the work we've done in particular over the last couple of years. So recognizing, and you'll see some additions here, including from the conversation in May. And that's again based on community member input. So the sense that we know
these particular heritage months are on folks' radars. And so we have individuals looking to see their own like heritage and history represented, but also opportunities for folks who are not part of those identity groups to explore and learn. So I was actually meeting with the community engagement department earlier today, and it fits so nicely with the first focus area of our new strategic plan, and is cultivating connectedness and belonging. Throughout all of these, it is our hope that folks will feel they belong, because the thing that is reflecting them is at their library, that again, we want to be that second home to everybody. But also that it's going to cultivate that connectedness, so that if you don't know a whole lot about a neighbor who has a particular identity, you have an opportunity to do that and become closer to them. So Heritage and History Months, we have standalone observances. And so again, you'll see some familiar ones, including from events and initiatives in years past, and some new ones. I want to call out on November 2nd, we have a What Is Dia de los Muertos event for families that we're really excited about. There's a local art teacher who identifies as Mexican American and has personal cultural history with Dia de los Muertos, and is going to be sharing some of that so that people can learn. We also have really been trying to think about how do we talk about the fact that so many in Skokie, a major part of their identity is tied to a religious identity, and navigating the fact that as a public library, we're not engaging in religion or religious content explicitly. That's not what our role is. And so if you will forgive the liberal arts degree religio-cultural terminology here, the best first attempt for right now of reflecting that we can absolutely reflect and honor these like rich identities without getting into a realm of where the library is perceived as quote unquote doing religion. So if you have a more succinct way to do that or say that, please let me know, because Microsoft Word does not accept that as a word. New for this year, and specifically calling it out, is awareness months. This is probably the area in which we've seen the most recent community input, which is different from several years ago, in the sense of we'll have community members saying, oh, I noticed somewhere, it is X awareness month. What is the library doing? And had a lot of conversations with Nancy, our community engagement manager, with Jane, our communications and multimedia engagement manager, on, how do we want to think about these? And where, again, we're starting for right now, but this is always an evolution, is for an awareness month, how do we start in building awareness? And so one of the examples we talked about is thinking about a caregiver who said, what is the library doing for Autism Awareness Month? And the fact that if we can, when there is perhaps more of a spotlight on Autism Awareness Month during that time frame, draw awareness to the resources, not only that we offer at the library on an ongoing basis, but community connections we have as well. Using that time to spread awareness for things that people can engage in throughout the year will likely have a larger reach and impact than just offering a single event, for example, or a single display that is like time limited. So again, this one is new for us to be thinking about kind of systematically. And so how are we able to leverage our role as like community information folks to help build awareness? And then the last one is known days to avoid big events. And this is where there's one typo. So in the actual like table, it still says awareness months. I have updated that and reposted it in our staff intranet, since this is a staff facing document. But known days to avoid big events are, they're not inclusive of days the library is already closed, because we're not going to schedule something on those anyway. But it's also recognizing what are other dates, most specifically that we have recently heard from community members who've said things like, oh, I saw you're doing this day. I wish I could attend, but that's this, typically a holiday. And so this is our attempt to be more cognizant of when we're planning something that is truly standalone or limited, that we're not doing it in a day that we know is going to prohibit some of our community from participating. So it doesn't mean we're not doing anything. We'll still have a story time perhaps, if that's the usual day for story time. But we have story time all the time, so that it's not like a opportunity cost loss sort of thing. That's the summary of the document. That is an awful lot of me talking, and I want to see what questions, comments, additional things you've been hearing from the community you might have, seeing how this has evolved.
I really like the new format a lot. I think it has a lot of thought put behind it, and I think seeing it laid out this way is very, very helpful. And I like that you're looking at things from a lot of different perspectives. I think the only call out I would have might be regarding the Assyrian community, so because it's such a dominant community within the Skokie area. And I don't really have specific recommendations. The only thing I will say is earlier this year, I attended an Assyrian New Year event that was hosted by local community members. And I do believe that that is one of the bigger holidays, and I think it's April 1st. And I think it goes through a good chunk of April, but it was really, really interesting to learn about. And they had like crafts where they made these floral wreaths and other things. And they had a symposium on gardening, and they talked about the importance of that within the Assyrian community. So I just thought that was really cool. So I'm not sure exactly where, you know, that would tie in on here, but that might be a recommendation to consider. So yeah, like April 1st, and you could maybe engage with other Assyrians within the community, but I enjoyed going to that event because I didn't know very much. And it was really I took my husband too, and they had interesting food. It was really delicious. But the gardening thing was really, really cool. And it was a really great way to think about spring in a different way.
That's great, thank you.
Isn't there an Assyrian cultural center in
Yeah, it's right by where I live on Church Street. It's in the old JCC building, and they finally, that was like a big construction project, and they finally opened their doors, and their parking lot is always packed. Like, it's very active, so I'm curious to learn more too.
I wonder if our community engagement department could reach out to the cultural center, right?
Yeah.
And inquire about relevant dates to them.
Yes, and that's the note that I have to specifically, pose the question of like, are there moments in the calendar that are particularly meaningful or resonant? Because we have a good number of connections with community members that regularly inform programming, collections, displays. So that at this particular moment, it's a good example of that's absolutely a community priority. We just haven't heard from community members yet
Okay.
that there's a calendar component, but it helps us,
We'll take more initiative. on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's good feedback.
to ask the
One of the
question.
community outreach staff. Assyrian.
He no longer works with my work again.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
We'll mention the known dates, not to schedule things as an internal document. Will the others be posted publicly so everybody will see?
So you mean the closed state? Oh, no.
Not, will the other four be?
No, so this entire document was written with the intention, this is a guiding document for staff. And absolutely staff can, discuss any of this and we frequently do as we're developing events or, establishing more community connections. But because this is helping us to make sure that we're doing everything that is responding community need as we're planning. So it's really a planning document.
I suggest you consider posting at least some of it. If this is for the community, seeing how they're being represented and who's not being represented, they'll have no way of knowing it if we don't post it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully they'll know because they see some of the services we're providing, but yeah, this makes me think of perhaps like a blog post that talks about the promotion. Yeah,
mentioning here's what we
excellent,
do.
thank you.
Could also do a kind of like a version of Civic Life pop-up, kind of just engage the community more in conversation about topics.
Yeah.
Right, but I think letting people know, and rather than waiting till your month to see if it's coming up, to know 6 months ahead of time it's on, it's like, great, we're on, we don't worry about, or if in 6 months that I care about isn't on, I need to let you know now, not, it's too late to let you know.
Yes.
So that's why.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Some,
Yeah, it's a good idea. The challenge of and the opportunities from listening and adapting will never end, right? So that's something can always adapt.
Yes, no, and I think it's great, as you say, a living document that you want to change and update, so.
Yeah.
This is very helpful and well done. Thank you, Amy. I have a request, if you could post it to Dropbox for the board. And then also I would find it very helpful if I got a printout at the beginning of every year of the updated calendar. Just would keep my awareness, you know, of what's happening in the community.
Can do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Susie's
I'll
writing a
send
note
Susie
on
about
this,
that.
yeah.
You know how we get our board meeting calendar, if we could get this calendar also and any other relevant.
We can do our
That's
reminder for ourselves. Maybe we can do it at least twice a year.
That would be helpful.
Or anytime that it changes.
Exactly when it's updated.
We'll add it to the Dropbox too, Susie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy.
Maybe I have a quick question.
Oh, sorry.
I really like this document. I think it's very in-depth and I like the way you've used our conversation from before and how I can see the implementation here. It's wonderful. The question I have is, we have Good Friday, we have Passover. Do we do Christmas?
So we've not included that here because Christmas is a day we're already closed.
Okay,
So that's not a day that we would
any
actually schedule something
before,
for.
after kind of,
So it's got both, we're closed both New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so.
okay.
Christmas Eve and.
Oh, did I say New Year's? Sorry.
Yeah.
We're open New
I know
Year's
what
Eve.
you, I know.
We have a really fun family program that is.
New Year's Eve, we're
loving
open until
community
5.
tradition On New Year's Eve. But if you don't know about that one, it's gonna be Magical New Year's this year. So it will start, we're gonna have the countdown to noon. It's a Sunday, so New Year's Eve is Sunday.
Like, wow.
So we open at noon. We're gonna do the countdown right outside on the East Drive, and it'll be like, Happy New Year. The first thing you're doing for kids who can't tell time is go to the library.
It's 12 though, technically,
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So that is a super fun one, and we have a magician who does a show as well.
I wanna, go ahead.
Two other things that I would like pointed out in this
Yeah,
is Diwali and Kwanzaa.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Somewhere.
I meant to shut on your
That's
comment.
exactly what I was gonna.
Oh. I wanted to mention that during the end of year, winter season, holiday season, for some, we have a winter boutique that our collection is for, you want to say a little bit about what that is and how popular it is?
Yeah, so it starts right around November 1st each year, about the same time you'll hear holiday music on the radio. And that is when we put out all of our holiday materials, so all those Hallmark and Lifetime movies that we get requests for, the old traditional ones, as well as all of our books. And that's not just Christmas, we also include the Jewish holidays and Kwanzaa in there as well. So something for everyone. And we usually decorate in a very just wintry motif. So snowflakes or paper chains or something. It's not, we don't put up a Christmas tree or anything like that. It's not meant to be a Christmas celebration. Even
The
though
paper
most
chains
of the
from
holidays
last year was really blinged out, it was
Yeah.
really cool.
people love those chains.
Yeah, it was really cool.
But it's a very popular collection, and continues to be.
So I think the point that Shabnam just made, the question she asked about the Christmas holiday. I'm just thinking that maybe other people would also wonder why that's not here. And I understand the reason why it's not, but would it be possible to just add at the bottom of the document what the observed holidays already are? So that way, like, if we ever do share the document publicly, it will just kind of anticipate if people have questions that we already do acknowledge, of course, Christmas, New Year's, and the other national holidays.
That's a good idea. We can just list our approved closed holidays.
Yeah, because I asked the same thing. I was like, what about Christmas Eve? Oh, I had no, I didn't realize we were closed on Christmas Eve as well. So yeah, that's.
It's a good reminder. Anytime we can like be just aware of that too, that's it's not a bad thing. So.
What about St. Patrick's Day?
So St. Patrick's Day, that's an interesting one that, 20 years ago, that was a really big thing community members were talking about wanting to engage in, and it really has not been in the last probably 6, 7. To the extent that it's the sort of thing we're thinking about at the level of we've heard direct community input. It's definitely something that I know in particular the youth team is aware of and thinking about for like passive crafts in this space as an option. So, and that's the same for things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, known days and holidays, predominantly secular holidays in the calendar that may be reflected in other ways, but since it hasn't come from community, like.
There might be a
identity.
display
Yeah.
in our various sections of our library.
Yeah.
But also, that's an interesting question, Shabnam, because I know that the Park District is very active in a lot of the cultural programming as well. And so that St. Patrick's Day was one where the village and the Park District used to be very strong in it. If you lived in Spokane for years, you probably remember the parade and there was all kinds of activities.
What do you think about Chicago with dying to River
Right?
Green and all
Yeah.
that? I mean.
I don't know, now I'm
And then
wondering
you
now
mentioned
when.
Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of them.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder what, that's a good question for us to kind of maybe keep tabs on what the village and the Park District are planning to during a year to kind of see. Do we need to get involved, to help support, or are there things that they got something covered for the community in a large way and we don't necessarily have to kind of duplicate efforts, so. But that's an interesting.
Yeah, 'cause on my drive
example,
here, I saw
yeah.
that Scream Fest or in the Parks Department, you see the letters really, really, really big and.
They do a great job too,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to nitpick here. But is Arbor Day along with Earth Day?
I believe they're different dates. They are, yeah, honestly, the only context in which I've heard someone talk about Arbor Day in the library recently, in the last few years, has been a teacher for a book bag request. That's not been one that has been a substantial question. That's a good question.
I do think you bringing up Earth Day though is very interesting, because when I think back to the past few months and we've been looking at the engagement reports, I think maybe even you were hearing me, you mentioned some of the most popular activities that people are engaging with were with regarding sustainability within the community and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's almost a signal, even if people aren't necessarily telling you, I think Earth Day is important, the community is expressing that
Yeah.
desire in a different way. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of content could be really, really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And something everybody can, everybody will take something different from it. I think it's really great.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm gonna go back to the library to chart. Enjoy the rest of your meeting. Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, moving on, page 38, approval of the wireless access point project. Richard, you want to walk us through that?
I will try. It's from Mark Etsy, our IT manager. Essentially, I'm trying to find the nearest example of around the building, you'll see these wireless access points, kind of like little squarish or roundest, maybe bigger, and they provide the wireless access throughout the entire building for staff and patrons. And it's been quite a while since we purchased the ones that we currently have, and it's time for upgrading that. Obviously, it's a vital service that we provide, Wi-Fi in the building. So Mark and his team went and did all the research. They got multiple quotes. As you can see, I'm not going to go through all the memo here, but you can see that they did their research and explored different options, and they came away with recommending this particular proposal from for an extreme network system. So this includes the wireless access points themselves, but also the control management module, like the software essentially for a 7-year subscription essentially. for the system, so it'll help us, our IT team manage the entire system, make sure that it's secure, all that, so. If you have any questions, please let me know, but, if there aren't any questions, I recommend that the board approve the wireless project, upgrade to the wireless system.
I appreciate you talked to three companies.
Yeah.
With the lowest. Page 39, I was gonna ask about why it's 35 of these and 39 of those, but I wouldn't understand the answer. It's a lot of things we're
Yes,
setting.
yeah, it all is tied to one system though is the key, so, it's just the way it's priced out.
I think my only question is regards to frequency and how often we update, because when I looked at the memo, it said, we had a combination of these access points purchased in 2015 and then 2019. So is it about every 3 to 4 years you anticipate kind of making these sorts of updates, or?
No, I talked to Mark about this and he said that we'll get, about 7 years of
Oh.
life on this.
Okay,
System we're expected. He made the point that 7 years in technology or internet time is a very long time, so a lot of things can happen and everything, but we anticipate getting about 7 years, and so around year 6, we'll start evaluating how our system is working, is it performing, do we need to upgrade again? What do we need to do? Usually this type of equipment, from my understanding, and the understanding is certain equipment is not supported after a certain point in time. So that's usually what kind of drives the decision of needing to upgrade, so that it might not be broken per se, but if it does break, we're not able to fix it. So we need to actually think ahead and make sure that there's never a break in our wireless service. So it's just kind of thinking ahead and having a robust system and making sure that's in place.
And sometimes as technology ages out, the support is gone. Like
That's what I mean, yeah,
Right,
it's
what
end of,
you're saying.
under support end of life,
Right.
as far as the manufacturers are concerned. So they're not like even supporting that anymore, or providing new replacement.
right,
parts.
security patches.
Exactly, yeah, so they've moved on, so we need to move on.
Yeah.
Good question. Matt, can I have a motion to approve the wireless access point upgrade at a total cost of $28,543.68?
so moved.
Second,
All right, and it's money, so individually, Ella?
Yeah.
Mira?
yes.
Shabnam?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Mary?
Yes.
That's unanimous, passes.
Thank you. Mark will be pleased.
All right, the next one, page 40, this is more of a theoretical piece as opposed to money. That you want to talk about this, Richie?
Yeah, sure. So during the course of any construction project or renovation project, there are these things called PCOs, potential change orders. And so in order to become a change order, it has to go through a specific process where it's reviewed and discussed by the architect, the construction manager, and the owner, which is a library. So once it's determined that a change in the plans or an adjustment is needed and it will cost a certain amount of money to make that happen, that change order is presented to me. And if our architect and our construction manager have signed off on it, and I believe that it's actually in the best interest of the project to happen, I'll also approve it. During the original renovation project, or the big renovation project a couple of years ago, the board had approved a similar resolution where basically it allows us to quickly address these without me having to wait every once a month to bring a batch of quick change orders. Meanwhile, that could delay the project in a really negative way and have negative impact on the project in terms of sticking on the timeline. So this authorization is basically almost word for word similar to the authorization that the board provided me for the larger renovation project. It's just to apply for the third floor renovation project. So the language is changed to the third floor project, renovation project. There's one section that actually, through consultation with our attorneys, they said that we didn't need any more because we use this standard template for their AIA contracts with our construction manager. And within that is built into some requirements and language of how change orders will be written and documented. So we just eliminated that part of the resolution because it was just redundant and we didn't need it according to our attorneys. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them, but if not, I recommend board approval of the attached resolution authorizing administrative approval of certain construction related contracts and change orders.
Questions, comments?
I will add one other piece actually that I should have clarified is that this is up to a threshold of $25,000. It could potentially be up to a threshold of $50,000, but between 25 and 50, it would require me to get the sign off from Gene as the board president. In Gene's absence, if say he's traveling and I can't reach him, then I would go to Shabnam and Mary as an officer, requiring an officer's signature or basically written confirmation through an email usually. And then if it's over $50,000, then that's something actually that I would actually just hold off on and wait until the next board meeting. If it's an urgent matter, then I would actually ask the board president to, or sometimes we haven't done it, but sometimes, you know, some boards have special meetings where just that agenda item is considered. So, but that I don't anticipate that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when we did the first 2 floors, how often did you need to go to Mark?
I want to say it was probably maybe a handful of times, you know, like maybe 3 times.
And we never needed to call a special board.
I
meeting
don't
for
recall that, yeah,
Specific.
no, I don't recall. But there were a significant number of change orders. Many of them are very small things, you know, it's a few $100s or whatever, but it's documented, approved. It's just kind of a control for us to be able to monitor the adjustments on the project and make sure that every side is signing off on it before, so that one side can't just make a change randomly and not tell me or tell the library or tell the architect or whatever.
There are no questions. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution? Second.
Second.
And, well, it's just a resolution. Since it's about money, let's vote individually anyway, so. It's approving spending money. Ella?
Yes.
Mira?
Yes.
Shabnam?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yeah.
Mary?
Yes.
That passes you.
Thank you.
All right. Now on to the
Yeah,
big agenda item. Starting at page 43.
and what's certainly the longest part of your work. I'm gonna turn it over actually to our Associate Director, Leo White. He has done a lot of work on this project and revision, and I wanted to give her the chance to explain, just kind of summarize some of what you see here. You see her memo, but here.
Yeah, hi. So I fully recognize that personnel codes might not be quite as exciting as some of the other stuff we've talked about tonight, but they're really exciting to me. I feel like this is the backbone that allows all of our employees to really understand and see their work and be supported in the work that they do. One of the really big aspects of this update was obviously the ratification of the certified bargaining agreement and really identifying the ways in which those two really vital documents work together and to allow staff to figure out, okay, what applies to me and where. And one of my huge goals with organizational development and HR policies and our procedures in general is a simplification of the way these documents work. And for employees to be able to see themselves in it and identify and be able to interpret that so that they feel truly supported in the work that they do. I fully believe that this person.
Document, and provided comments and
Correct.
editing
Yeah.
suggestions, and so that's all built into what you see before you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that, and as well as our Leah's
My
Leah's
staff.
team, yeah, our HR generalist and our recruiting training administrator also took a look at this too.
I don't have a question about the document, but how's the implementation going of taking the collective bargaining with personnel?
I think incredibly well. I say this often, I love our certified bargaining agreement. I think it works really well with our personnel code, and I feel like it is clearly written in a way that you can interpret it easily. And it's, as someone who uses both of these documents as tools on a daily basis to help staff kind of navigate where they fit in it, it's gone incredibly well. Yeah, yeah. Thankful.
Other questions or comments?
One question,
Yeah.
do employees get ALA membership?
It depends on the role and the interest. So we have some staff members who actually have a very niche role. We have a lot of staff members that fall into that category. So the American Library Association membership might not actually be the correct membership for that person. For example, my HR generalist is a member of the Society of HR Managers versus being a member of ALA. But there is support and professional development and training support for staff in a wide variety of ways. So yes.
Awesome.
Also, I want to mention, to add to what you said, that the organizations, the library as an organization has organizational membership
Yeah.
to different associations. So even if an individual isn't a member, there's still the benefit of a lot of membership, training,
Yeah.
resources, communications. We have multiple copies of like the magazines created by all these associations. So it's always kind of floating around the organization.
So like this ALA conference that they had this past summer,
Yeah.
Employees would benefit from that how?
From attending the conference?
Okay, so they can attend, like, would they have to,
Yes.
would it be like a free registration or would it?
Yeah, so for staff, if they are interested in attending ALA or any conference, so there's a lot of conferences for, graphic designers or people who work in design or HR, for example. So anyone who's interested in attending a conference indicates interest, and then we look at our budget, how many people we have sent to what has this person gone to this year? And if they are approved to attend, then they have conference registration. If it's out of town, there's assistance with housing and reimbursements for meals.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be through the ALA, it
No.
can just be any.
Yes, correct. And
Appropriate.
one of the really great things about being in the Chicago area is that we are such a hub for associations, but also for library resources. So there is Rails, for example, which a lot of that professional development is free. And there's other institutions like Laconia that have we have a really well-resourced area when it comes to professional development opportunities for library workers in general. And we have a recruiting and training administrator on staff whose job it is to help identify knowledge gaps and help people close those. So we also have a lot of in-house resources when it comes to training and development support.
Excellent.
Specifically for ALA annual, like we just mentioned, we sent a large number of staff, and some staff attended the entire conference of full registration. Some staff had a one-day path or whatever it's called, and then other staff had an exhibit pass where they it was more beneficial for them not to go to the different sessions, but to actually like walk the exhibit floor for the whole day. So we made sure that we supported. It's easier when it's in Chicago, or I know you went to, so you know that it's a large conference. It's in Chicago. We can really take advantage of that by sending a lot more people. It's harder when, say, it's in a different state and it requires overnight travel or lodging and airplane airfare. And so that gets a little bit more difficult. There's also one element of the the conference registration, just getting into the weeds a little bit. I think it's kind of related to what you're asking, where the membership sometimes is beneficial for us just in terms of cost.
Yes.
Because members get a reduced conference registration fee. So in the end, sometimes it's like, well, we'll just make you a member so we can get the reduced fee, and then you have both, you know, the benefit of membership for 1 year or 2 years, and then, you know, we work it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's an example of the Adult Reading Roundtable, which is a local professional development group for people who specifically work in collections and advisory. And membership to ART or the Adult Reading Roundtable gives you access to a year-long genre study. So there's a lot of, yeah, it's really cool. They do a different genre every year. Like we have a bounty of development opportunities in the Chicago area when it comes to library workers.
Good question.
Other questions for Leah?
In 3.7 corrective action and discipline, just a general note for me, it seems very punitive. There's a way the language could be more appreciative. Just disciplinary measures are a form of corrective action, and it's very harsh. Perhaps we could say, I can't think of anything right now, but that word corrective action, it seems as if like you're coming down hard on someone you've been bad. Sometimes the lack of ability to perform in a role or not have poor performance.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking from a trauma-informed approach. I try to view things from that lens. So we don't want to go in saying like, you are bad. And really focus on the work product that they're not holding up to the standards of or something. I don't have the language for it right now, but it stood out to me a lot. Discipline and corrective action. And it seems very punitive in the language.
Well, I would say, so we also have a performance management system that would be in place that would take place before we would be going down a road of discipline or corrective actions. So before a supervisor or manager would be going down that route, which is also outlined in the sort of the collective bargaining agreement as well. So before we would be going down that route, there would be a number of things that a supervisor and manager and an employee would be going through before even getting to that point. And it would largely be around all of our supervisors and managers are trained in a coaching philosophy, where the purpose is truly to support people to do their best work and to root that in supportive feedback before we would ever get down the road of corrective action and discipline. So that may be why the wording is a bit, I don't want to say harsh, but a bit more formal when it comes to this, because this would be outside of just a typical, you need more feedback to do your job correctly. This would be, I've given you feedback to do your job correctly over a period of 6 months, and we're still not getting to that point.
I understand the operational side. My concern is the language that is being used. I understand that it would take a lot for a staff member to get to this point, but when you're seeing things, not you particularly, but when we're using words like infraction, deficiency, those are terms that, for me, as someone who thinks about like trauma and past traumas that people may have, using terms like infraction, that makes me think of like law enforcement or something. I ran a red light, so now I have this infraction, or not that I run red lights. But it's just if we can just tweak the language just a little bit. I think infraction is the one, I know infraction is the one that really it's like the nails on a chalkboard. It's not, it's that infraction and deficiency. Because as an employee, you're reading that we may have other things going on that's causing the performance issues. Those terms can be triggering.
I appreciate that comment, and I think I hear what you're saying. I think that this is something that we can definitely go back to work with our attorney on, make sure. We explore different phrasing, wording, but while also maintaining. The ability to have a clear statement that we can enforce as well if necessary, because from a legal standpoint.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose that, but I hear what you're saying. I think there's probably room for, like you said, tweaking and adjustment. I guess my question is, if the board does choose to move forward with this evening. It could either be done, we've done it in different ways in the past where it's kind of like an understanding that we'll modify this language if the board wants us to bring that back. In a fresh way before approving, that's fine too. It's whatever the board wants. I just want to mention that we can do that.
Well, for me, I'm fine with, I trust you all to look at it in whatever language you
Right.
decide to go with, even if it's, we try to look at it this way.
We'll make a good faith effort.
A good faith
to-
effort.
Yeah.
And maybe you wanna draft something and send it to her
Yeah.
to show the lawyer. You have
Yeah. Well,
relevant expertise.
Yeah, and I can talk more too.
Okay.
If you'd like. But
So
actually, we can
tonight-
also take initiative to come up with maybe some alternative language and.
We'll go with the living document theory and we can approve this tonight. And if you want to suggest some improvement, if you're run it past legal.
Also, if it's changes in a significant way where it's more than just like a word or two, then what I would probably suggest is we can bring just that section back. And just say this is the amendment and we want the board to look at it and possibly approve it, so we can insert it back to the entire.
Yeah,
instead
we
of
won't
bringing
have
the
to see the whole
whole-
policy.
Yeah, the board packet will be a little shorter. So,
And I respect and appreciate what you're bringing forth here. I'm also glad to hear you're gonna go back to the attorney because seeing like corrective action is in quotes in one part here. I wonder also how much of that corresponds to employment and labor law.
Yeah.
And so there may be statutes, right, where that is the verbiage, but you'll know when you speak.
But
with
it's
her.
also the language in the collective bargaining. agreement.
Right.
This affects all the documents.
Mm.
You got-
There's a-
it's just the same. You have to keep the
Make
language
it
the same.
consistent.
Yeah, but there's a balance we can strike here, I think,
Right.
and we can definitely take a look, a fresh look at it. Appreciate the comment.
Thank you.
I have a quick question and a comment, and forgive me if this is in an area that's already been discussed, but, are the majority of staff part of the new union?
Yes.
So the great majority are, and I'm just wondering if it would be helpful or if it makes sense in a document like this to like make it clear who their point person is to speak to about union related matters or joining or not joining. I don't know for new, like if I was new to a organization and
Yeah,
I wanted to know more, maybe it's not this document, but where would someone go to kind of,
they would go to the collective bargaining
Okay.
agreement.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah. And one of the things that we're doing is with new hires, and these are things that get sent out to
Okay.
employees. And then also our union stewards do orientation meetings
Got it.
with new employees in union eligible roles.
okay.
So there's a good like support system for that.
Cool.
Good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other comments, insights, suggestions?
I just had a question. Maybe it's just because I'm in the private sector.
Yeah.
I was really surprised to see that you can have a cumulative of like 186 sick days. That was a lot. So what is that based? What is that based on? Okay, so that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that is,
That's our pension fund.
okay, so it's all related to that.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that just jumped out. I was like, wow.
That's a long time. Yeah, that number is like directly.
Got it. Okay, that's what I assumed, but I just wasn't sure. And then I just had a question, under 5.3 where it talks about bereavement leave.
Yes.
I know in speaking with Richard, it's assumed that parent encompasses step parent and child includes stepchild. I guess I'm just used to seeing in policies where those things are very clearly
Yeah.
spelled out. So I don't know if that was a cognizant choice to just keep it as parent and child versus, and instead of adding step parent and stepchild or.
Yeah, I think we tried to keep it broader so
Broader,
that
okay.
it does apply to step parent and step child.
Okay.
So for example, if someone
comes to us and says, my child, I'm not gonna say,
Got it.
how was that your child?
Okay.
You know, so it's, or if they said my stepchild, that is their child.
Okay.
So it absolutely applies
Okay.
regardless of that kind of relationship
Okay.
distinction. So yeah,
Okay,
there
I
is a child in this case applies to both step.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was clear, because I just can picture if I were a new employee and I had that, I didn't know if it would be more clear to me or
Yeah.
less clear, but so I understand the reason why we don't have it written that way, but I
Yeah.
don't know, I guess I've always been a person where if I don't see it written that way, I assume it doesn't apply,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and I will say bereavement leave in particular is one of those things that's very, like, people come to us and say, I need this thing.
Okay,
And so it is a very mediated experience
Okay.
where we're working with them to
Okay.
make sure that we're supporting them as much as we can.
that's really the most important thing at the end of the day. I just wanted to make sure that employees felt comfortable, especially if they had that type of familial, you know,
Yeah.
relationship within their families, that they would understand that if this
Oh.
happens, this is okay, like I am covered under this policy,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. It's a good question.
Anything else for Leah? Not can I have a motion to approve the revised personnel code?
Moved.
Second,
Second.
and we can do this collectively. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that passes unanimously. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you.
All right, we're out of pages, but not out of items. On the agenda, approval of the salary increase for the director. So, this actually ties back to discussions we had in closed session a couple times. Since we cannot vote in closed session, that has to come to open session. So, what we approved was a 1%, a 2.5% salary and 1% merit increase for the library director. And then we applied that retroactively, which comes out to $2,843.10 retroactively to a year from his last raise. And so we can open it for discussion again if you want to do that. Otherwise, we've already gone through the discussion in closed session. We'll say this has different posting requirements or stipulations. I don't know, Susie, you want to explain how this is differently posted?
Yeah, so when I position an IRA, that is stated to earn more than $150,000 a year, we post this 6 days in advance, then a public notice, because people can see what is on the agenda this weekend. We did that last week and we have.
It's posted on the front of the.
So any other questions, comments, additions? If not, can I have a motion to approve a one-time retroactive salary payment of $2,843.10 and 2.5% salary and 1% merit increase for the library director for fiscal year 2023 to 24? What he said.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
right? It's money, so we vote individually. Ella?
Yeah.
Mira?
Yes.
Shabna?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And that passes unanimously.
Thank you. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Now, to continue on, we're going to go into closed session to discuss personnel issue. So that's, we need a motion going to closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1 of the Open Meeting Act to discuss the personnel matter. I have a motion to go into closed session. No move, second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are now in closed session. Let's take a break while